Yo, 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 what is good, y'all? My name is A Sincere. I guess for that comment it's sincere, but we'll go from there. We are jumping into another quick dive. Skywalker, what quick dive is this one?
This is, I just looked it up, but then I forgot. I'm going to say this is Quick Dive 11 because it is Quick Dive 11.
Hey.
It's Quick Dive 12.
Oh, damn. We did the Invincible one.
Yeah.
I was figuring the last one was the last Marvel show we did, but we did do. If you didn't watch that or listen to that, go listen to that now. But this is number 12. Yeah.
Yeah, in case you guys don't know, we do these quick dives to kind of just tap in and focus on one show, one episode, or like multiple episodes. So today we will be covering the new Disney Plus series, Loki, which has been on our hearts for a few months now, boys.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this. It kept getting delayed, and then we finally thought we were going to get it, and then it got delayed to Wednesdays, which was very odd, but I guess they have their whole reasoning.
They kind of moved
man,
it up.
It's the timekeepers, bro.
Yeah, a little bit.
The timekeepers are in control of Disney Plus, bro. Like,
yeah, they have a sacred timeline.
Yeah, it's a sacred timeline, and it just wasn't meant to happen sooner.
It would have been a variant if it was on Fridays.
Yeah, probably branched off.
Yeah, so I guess we'll touch on that real quick. So this is kind of going to throw off our quick dives a little bit, but nothing too crazy. We're going to start dropping these quick dives, at least for this series, on Saturdays. Yeah. And that's just because Loki's dropping on Wednesday, which is kind of arbitrary, but also kind of dope. I just hate the fact that I have to stay up like late on a Tuesday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a little weird, if you have work or school or, you got to put your kids to bed and if you got to put your kids to bed, just put those earphones in and just watch it.
Most people are a little bit different than us and they actually watch it on the Wednesday whenever they have time. So it's fine for them. But we're the weird ones and want to stay up till midnight on Tuesday.
Yeah. Is it bad that I want to be that parent that lets my kids stay up with me?
No, I will let them. They have to enjoy it with me. Because then I'm going to be spoiling it for him or them or her in the morning. And yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll be very...
Man, if y'all don't let your kids sleep, man.
Fuck them kids.
Stay up. We're going to watch Loki. Just like half asleep. Like, you can't sleep.
Norik was happily in bed by 8 o'clock when he was younger. That's crazy.
Happily, bro. What? 8:30 is my bedtime? Okay. I'll beat you to it.
No, yeah, my bedtime was 9 o'clock, and I hated it because I used to want to watch everything that came out afterwards, like at 10.
I remember having that conversation with my dad, asking him to push it an extra 30 minutes just so I can catch more of the shows that were coming out as I was getting older. It was good times.
Yeah, for me, it was Heroes. Heroes was the reason as to why. Yeah,
me too.
So fire.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, boys, let's kind of just jump right into it. Loki episode 1, Skywalker, let's go ahead and set up the scene, my good sir.
Yeah, episode 1, we pretty much end off right where we left off in Endgame when they went back to the first Avengers movie timeline in the Battle of New York. And we see it in Endgame. Loki is in handcuffs and they're bringing him down and then they're trying to get the Tesseract and the Hulk hates theirs, so he ruined the whole plan. And Loki managed to get the Tesseract and travel to a different timeline. It was really cool to see it finally materialize and being like, where is Loki going? Or, like so many, like your brain just starts to think during watching Endgame, knowing, oh, damn, like Loki's going to start a new timeline or something. Like he's probably in a multiverse. And pretty much later on, we find out right now there's no multiverse, but that's when he gets led to the TVA. They book him. They're going to disintegrate him. They're going to prune him or whatever their phrases are, because the TVA is like the officers of time. If you're out of place,
time cops.
If you're out of line or out of your timeline, even if it's by accident or, no matter what you're trying to do, they're going to show up and they're going to put you in your place or try to,
Well, they'll give you a trial, basically.
Which probably ends the same all the time, I think.
I think majority of the time it probably does. I think that there's probably opportunity to prove that something is right, because it seems like that the time cops don't know everything, or at least the low level ones that are bringing people in. And they have to get brought before the judge, Renslayer.
Yeah, Renslayer. Really
She's
cool.
so fine. She's so fine.
So there is, like you said, there is different levels of variance, like in the dangerousness. I don't know. I don't remember the level of danger of Loki, but I know Loki is the most frequent variant that goes through the TVA. That I also noticed that there was a scroll in the TVA, and then some random guy. I'm pretty sure it was like a stock.
He's a stockbroker.
Stockbroker. He's like, my father works for Goldman Sachs. And I'm like, how did you even get here then?
And don't forget the everybody's suspecting the Peggy Carter cameo in the background.
Where?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There was a suspected Peggy Carter cameo because there was this woman that was being brought in when Loki was looking through the TVA, and she was wearing a blue dress.
With her hair, with her hair done similar to Peggy Carter.
Yeah, to Peggy,
could be a little poke at us, like trying to be like, hey, you guys might think this is Peggy Carter.
They're not gonna get me again, bro. There's no aerospace engineer. There's no Mephisto, no Nightmare. You ain't getting me. I am watching this like I don't know what the hell's going on.
Everybody's trying to jump to the theories. Like, let's just let it play out. And
I think watching these shows, surface level watching, is like, as much as we love doing what we do, surface level watching is just like what we're gonna have to go do now.
Yeah, I mean, with this one, they kind of giving us a lot. You know, they're not leaving us like on a cliffhanger. At the end of episode 1, we got immediately we found out who the villain was going to be. We didn't have to wait till episode 3 or 4. You know, it was like, all right, this is the villain, and it's like, damn, where do we go from here? Like, we still have a whole series to go, and we already know the villain. That's just like, I don't know. To me, that's juicy. Like, we took this huge bite into this sweet, juicy peach, and we still have the whole peach to go, you know? So
I feel you on that. I think it's really, really interesting because this is the first show where we felt, okay, how much bigger can the MCU get? And they really showed that they just cracked open. It reminds me of, you ever seen Men in Black when he closes the locker and then like it zooms out into like the marble or into the galaxy, and the galaxy is part of a marble that like aliens are playing, and then that zooms out again. It was kind of like that. It was like everything that we saw in Endgame, Thanos, all that destruction throughout the universe is just a blip in the grand scheme of things with this TVA. And you know, it's just like, how much bigger can you get? But it's genius in my opinion, because I always wondered how they were going to be able to like factor in the celestial and cosmic type of people, you know, like the one above all, the living tribunal, all of that. And I'm just like, how do you make that so large yet ground it like as if I just watched a Captain America movie like right before, you know? But they really did a good job by opening up this TVA and this space that they operate in, because now it's like, okay, this is where those types of beings could reside. Yeah,
no, same here. Like, I figured, you know, I didn't think we were going to get any, I guess, celestials in this one. I didn't know what we were to expect from the TVA. I'm not an avid comic book reader, but it's nice to see that it's starting to be introduced. There's little Easter eggs throughout the show, like posters on the walls of like the Watcher. There's statues of the 3 timekeepers, and we even get the little cartoon of the history of the whole multiversal war,
which is genius because like Disney has really mastered how to inform us in ways other than just like pure dialogue or pure like explanation dialogue.
Right.
And I was worried about that. And it's just like, of course, it's still Disney to be able to do that. You know what I mean? To just have like a little animated cartoon that's just telling you everything that's going on. But throughout it, you're just like, this is crazy, like what they're telling us. And they alluded to our next huge event, which is a multiverse war. Could be Secret Wars, could be Avengers Nexus, could be all kinds of things coming up down the pipeline. But it's really they've just upped the ante throughout in episode 1. Like the ante it rose. I loved how when Loki got captured by the TVA, he had the Tesseract, and the Tesseract just like depowered. Like that was evidence of like, okay, you're in a place right now where it's just beyond your comprehension. Like it's more powerful than what we deemed as the most powerful objects in this universe. So kudos to Disney for doing that.
I believe, real quick, I think Tara Strong, the voice of, she's a very well-known voice actor, was the voice of Miss Minutes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think she was in Rugrats and all that, but just to throw that out there. But Disney's, I don't know, man. I can't help but feel like we're gonna run out of actors and actresses in the MCU. No, bro, you never know.
I mean, they're just starting to get these big names like Owen Wilson playing Mobius. That's
how do you guys feel about him and his character?
He's awesome. Killing it.
I love
He's killing it.
Jet ski riding. TVA
it's such a good fit. Like he's just so easygoing. It gives me. Did you ever watch Starsky and Hutch with him and Ben Stiller?
Yes, I did.
So it gives me very Starsky and Hutch vibes. I was very just like, very just easygoing about it.
He's kind of playing like himself.
Wow.
It seems like
wow. Yeah.
So it seems like, they just wanted him to be him because he's just like a regular in the show. He's not like a alien or he doesn't have powers. Like he's all about order, So they're just like, just be normal, be a human, and yeah, you'll be perfect. You'll fit in, and I think he does fit in. It's really cool just to see, I guess, a bigger name in the Marvel universe. We always see these up and coming names, and which is really cool to find. Like, oh, that's a cool actor. He was in this one show like 2 years ago that I saw, and now they're getting bigger roles like this. Well, I was like, Owen Wilson, I haven't seen him in a while, but it's like when he's in something, you're like, all right, let me check this out. Let me see. I did see him in a recent movie. I didn't finish it though. It was on Amazon Prime. So it seems like he's going through like a little revival in his career.
I think Disney's good for that also, in the Marvel universe and the Star Wars universe too. It's like it's going to be this perfect pairing of brand new talent with like OG talent that like people have missed, like you get like we're getting other shows where it's going to have Ethan Hawke in there. Like when was the last time you saw Ethan Hawke?
Right.
But he's going to be in this movie with Oscar Isaac, who's been like on a roll lately, So it's like, okay, cool. Like just blending them together. We're getting Christian Bale in Thor: Love and Thunder. So it's like, wow, like there's going to be a lot of these actors and actresses who like they're just so prestigious, and now they're going to be thrown into the Marvel universe or the Star Wars universe, like, and it's going to be great, when we see it, whether it's Leonardo DiCaprio or, and then we got Angelina Jolie and Salma Hayek in The Eternals. So
yeah,
I'm really excited about their casting and just the way that they're maneuvering right now. It's great, and it's a bag for all these veteran actors.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit more is the sacred timeline and the multiversal war. So right off the bat, when he's watching the little cartoon, it did say there was at one point a multiverse, but now everything is just one timeline.
Right.
So, I mean, what do you guys think about that? Like, is that what you expected, or did you expect it to be a little bit more loose in actually being a multiverse, like we thought there was going to be in Spider-Man?
Well, it's actually really cool, and it allows Disney a little bit more flexibility. By them saying that there's been a multiverse war before, it allows more movies to get created to be placed in that time period. We have the Eternals coming up, which is supposed to span like 1,000 years. So is it 1,000 years like within the sacred timeline, or is it during the multiverse timeline, and then were they around for when the sacred timeline was established? There's all of these implications that are now here, where it's like, wow, like, okay, how and who made the decision on what was chosen for what timeline? It now puts certain villains and heroes in a different, just like a different space. Like they may be older, but like new because of this timeline, or we may get them later because of this new multiverse war that's kind of coming back. Kind of reminds me of when Justice League had their, during the Zack Snyder cut, when they had like their old, the war, where it was Zeus and Green Lantern and all that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, can we get like a golden age? Yeah, are we gonna get like a golden age of the multiverse war, like when some of our favorite characters, but like the older retro versions of them? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
good.
I'm interested in that.
Do you guys think we're gonna see the timekeepers at all, or do you think they'll just keep them under wraps the whole show?
I think it's under wraps for now. I don't think it's going to be announced here. Because remember, a lot of things Feige's been saying is that these shows are kind of just like the starting point for what's to come. So it's all going to intertwine at one point, and just a matter of which movie. I don't think it's going to be Doctor Strange, but
Quantumania, maybe.
Yeah, I think Ant-Man and I think Fantastic Four are going to deal with them directly.
Okay.
I think that the way that they'll introduce Fantastic Four, because it's kind of past their time of introducing them the way that we've seen them already,
right,
is that they're going to be a dimensional family. They're going to be like the knowledge of the cosmic elements of who they are is going to be a lot more at the forefront. So I think that those two movies are going to introduce the timekeepers, and I think that Doctor Strange is going to more so deal with the fallout of what's been happening with these shows in the multiverse.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, even when he came back after Endgame and they defeated Thanos, we've been mentioning that a lot. Like, I'm pretty sure he has a lot on his plate with everybody being out of their place in their own realms instead of actual timelines. Another thing I wanted to point out was we saw a whole drawer full of Infinity Stones, meaning that there's been several people trying to get a hold of the Infinity Stones at different timelines and trying to create their own, I guess, riches or power, that part blew everybody away. It's so hard to get one time stone, and there's all 6 in a drawer.
So to be forward, like, do you guys think that was like, it was too much? Like, do you think it was exaggerated with how they kind of just threw them all in there, or do you think it was like the perfect thing to do?
I wouldn't say perfect, but I mean, it aligned with the TVA, like, is saying, like, there's nobody above us. There's nothing above us. We're all power. We dictate time, how it flows. We're unraveling the events for the end of time, Right. So when the time stones get there, like, they dictate the flow of time, but when you're at the center of it, it makes sense that they don't work. Like when the Tesseract depowered, we talked about that. But the way, I guess, Loki was trying to find some of the Infinity Stones too for Thanos, and they're all in the drawer, and he noticed, like, damn, these are useless. Where we are is bigger than what I ever thought I'd ever encounter in my life.
Yeah, and that's why I think that it was important for them to distinguish that. I don't think it was overkill. I think that they had to do that so that they can show that, just like you were saying, the power is above what we're used to. Because if they didn't show that, then people would have their theories about, oh, well, I would just get the reality stone and like do something. And it's just like for what a lot of people don't know, because most people don't read the comics, is that there have been times where the reality stone, or not just the reality stone, but any of the Infinity Stones have been outside of their respective universes, and they've been depowered. So it was like a twofold. It was like showing you that this is out of the pocket universe that you're used to, and there's so many of them that people have tried to do this before and like have failed and messed up. One of the cool things that I think is kind of interesting is that the Mind Stone wasn't in that drawer. Out of all the stones, the Mind Stone was the only stone that wasn't in that drawer. So I'm like, dang, that means like all of the other ones. Yeah, well, not only is it hard to get, but how could it be used where the TVA would intervene, right? So you have like the Tesseract, it teleports you in different places. So if you teleport to a place you're not supposed to go, TVA is going to be there.
Right.
The Reality Stone literally rewrites reality. So if you use that for an extreme amount of time or something really permanent, TVA is going to be there. Time Stone, that's self-explanatory. You start messing with the timeline with the Time Stone, that's going to do it. The Soul Stone, there was only 2 in there, which was interesting because what I'm thinking is that if the Soul Stone is the same way to get it, where you have to sacrifice somebody, that means somebody got sacrificed who wasn't supposed to be sacrificed, and then then they had to get that.
Yeah.
And the Power Stone is just probably you were destroying stuff that you weren't supposed to destroy, and then they came in and took it. So it was really cool to see that. I think it like allowed us to really think outside the box on how all of that ended up where it ended up.
Yeah. Well, there is supposed to be a war mirror scene. So
yes,
I mean we've seen it in the trailers and we've seen screenshots of it. So maybe that can be what this villain is looking for, for all we know. So
well, it showed
there's hints to it too.
Yeah, it showed with in episode 2 with all of the places that were affected by the reset that happened. So if you guys have been catching up, we're at episode 2. Loki has been asked to be a part of the TVA. Loki has seen his life in full within his universe and realizes that he can't. That one, it's not very long. And 2, he doesn't reach glorious purpose, and he can't go back to it. So he's really kind of left without a choice of diving in with Mobius and figuring out like, okay, I'll join your TVA and do this mission, while he's kind of stalling for time to figure out what he needs to do to either get back to where he's going or find his next calling, and by the second episode, we see that what he wants is an audience with the Timekeepers. He wants to manipulate what they're doing or potentially join them or potentially overthrow them. He hasn't really decided yet. He doesn't know who he's up against, but he feels like I have to continue to learn about all of this in order to really figure it out. And I think it's that curiosity that kicks off the episode of him really trying to search for the villain of this whole show, which is himself.
It's so odd seeing Loki in an office setting, like skimming through files and reading jet ski magazines, talking to a hologram of Miss Minutes. Everything we've seen of Loki before has been very mystical, magical, pretty much out of whatever we would deem our like what we see on an everyday basis, so it's very funny and very quirky to see him. Like we get TVA Loki now, and that can even be like, who knows what this whole show is going to lead to. Like it can lead to Loki actually being a TVA agent, because that might be his only option in the end, like this is where I can exist forever and I won't ever be hurt and I get to travel and I don't know. We'll see. But
that also goes back to his, that goes back to his biggest question in the first episode, right? Like, is this the greatest power in the universe? Like he wants to achieve such a level where he has like he's next to, or if not the greatest power. So I think him being the main TVA agent or being a part of them is like the next best thing, especially because he knows what his fate is. You know what I mean?
And I think what also really kicked off his curiosity is that the fact that the person that they're chasing is a variant of himself. So now he's like, wait a minute. If you guys are chasing me, that means part of me has discovered something.
Right.
So now he's like, okay, well, if I've discovered something, I should know what it is too, because I think I'm the greatest me. So if someone who's me knows it, then I need to know it also. So it's really interesting because that's really like, it fits his character so much, and I commend Disney for creating this show, because where do you take someone like Loki? Like, you would have to pit them against themselves in order to really access the drive of the character. And I just think that that's so dope that they put him in this setting. They made this larger than life itself in all of these universes. It makes whatever villain is coming next bigger than Thanos, because that was like a question of like, how do you get bigger than Thanos? He destroyed half of the universe. You know, it wasn't just Earth that,
and it was actually meant to happen.
And it was actually meant to happen, you know, because they knew that 5 years down the line it was going to get restored. Mm-hmm. So it's like, when that happened, you know, it's just when you do something that large, a planet eater or just someone trying to destroy the Avenger, it just doesn't equate. So now you have this whole thing with the TVA and the Timekeepers, and it's like, whoever the villain is, whether it's Kang or the Timekeepers themselves, or Loki ascending to the place of like him taking over that, it really widens the battlefield and raises the stakes.
Yeah. And then going into the variant Loki, the superior Loki, whatever you want to call them, we get them finally revealed. And in the show, Loki and everybody at the TVA is expecting Loki to be a male Loki. You know, we've seen the different type of Lokis they showed him. There's a soccer Loki. There's like a warlock Loki. We have like a demon Loki.
It was Tour de France.
Oh, okay. I thought he was a soccer player.
No, he's a cyclist, but like, it's funny because he's like a mischievous person. So like, he they're just saying that like he cheated in the Tour de France, and like, who else cheated in the Tour de France? So like, I thought that was guts.
No, it's pretty cool. It was pretty cool that they actually showed us like the different variants. I figured we probably still are going to get more variations of Loki. I know
that's what I'm hoping.
With President Loki. I've heard like rumors of a kid Loki. Mm-hmm. Lady Loki has been confirmed and a rumor, but we don't know for sure if it's Lady Loki that is the villain, which was revealed to us being a female, or if it's another character that goes by the name of Sylvie, which I don't know if a lot of people know unless you're a comic book reader. And Sylvie is basically her origin is a creation of Loki. She's not from Asgard, as Lady Loki is from Asgard in some different timeline, as far as we know. But I've noticed a lot with these Marvel shows and Marvel movies, they've been tweaking the characters or the storyline just a little bit so it fits a little bit better in the show. So my theory is that maybe Lady Loki and Sylvie will be one. And, you know, I don't know. That's just like what I've been thinking, you know, because at the end of the credits in one of the different languages, they actually revealed the name of that character, and it was Sylvie. So it just led down to a rabbit hole of me reading through the Marvel encyclopedia and stuff like that.
Yeah. And Sylvie in the comics takes on the name the Enchantress, which is a villain that has been teased a lot within and is just known within the Thor realm. She's been used in the animated shows as well. And it's interesting because usually she's accompanied by, his name is escaping me right now. But it was homeboy who Carl Urban played in Thor Ragnarok. The dude with the axe and the bald head.
I got you.
he's like her bodyguard in comic books and stuff like that. Like she rolls with him. So when I saw him in Thor Ragnarok, I knew that that Enchantress was going to be somewhere around, whether it was going to be in the Thor movie or in this Loki show that we're kind of seeing right now. So whether she takes on that name fully, or whether that will just be the description of her because of her powers that she chooses to use, remains to be seen. But I think, like you said, Skywalker, I think Disney has a tendency to kind of bridge two things together if they can. If they aren't going to actually make them two separate people and draw out this whole story and like it's too close together, they can just make that happen. And who knows, maybe because of the multiverse, we see a separation of that. We see this supermarket scene basically where they Roxcart, which is interesting because Roxxon is a company that's in the Marvel universe. Yeah. So if this is their first time really alluding to it, aside from Iron Fist, the
which
show on Netflix
anymore.
Well, we don't know. We don't know really if it's canon or not, because they haven't brought in Daredevil or any of the people from the Netflix shows yet. But Roxxon was a part of that. We don't know where that kind of takes place in the timeline. And even with this show, like that's another thing with that multiverse happening, we don't know when that happened with like against what was going on in Endgame. Because
it's true.
The first episode happened in the middle of Endgame. So if Sylvie did that while Endgame was still going on or right after Endgame, then all of this craziness is kind of going on, which I kind of assumed because I think that's really where Doctor Strange is going to start. Like right after they defeat Thanos, I think he's going to go back and be like, okay, the multiverse just exploded. Like what else happened? And now he has to get to work. So it's
a lot of work.
Really, really interesting. It's a lot of work. But just seeing her kind of take over all these bodies is crazy.
You ever seen those like cartoons or movies where like the papers are stacked all the way high, like, and then you got to get it like the other side, so it's like complete? That's what Doctor Strange got to deal with.
Pretty much.
Like, damn, man, I've been gone for 5 years. Look at all this work that I got to put in. So
it's crazy. So I think that's kind of where it's gonna start from. So I'm really excited because a lot of the places that were affected by Sylvie's time bomb, I'm gonna just call it the time bomb, is Vormir, Sakaar, like so many places, so many planets. Yeah, Titan, Asgard, Ego. Titan. It's crazy how many places were affected, and this is how they can bring in X-Men. This is how they could bring in any character that they want to bring in. This is how, like, it's just gonna be absolutely insane. If we thought that Endgame assembling everybody in the universe for that fight was something
insane,
we haven't seen anything yet,
the
man.
Multiverse of War will be insane. It's
so crazy because in my mind I'm like, okay, so Disney has the technology to de-age anybody, right? So we can get Hugh Jackman, like Wolverine, in this
just
fight.
A different Wolverine. That's been my theory for a while.
So the different Wolverine will be what they make the movie out of. But I'm talking about for the moment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? For any moment that they do, crazy. They could bring anybody for the moment of the multiverse war, and it'll be insane. Like, just the interactions. They can bring Iron Man back. They can bring Steve Rogers back. They can do everything that you can imagine possible with any of their properties and make it happen for that multiverse war. And it's too insane.
Yeah. No, there's a lot to this show. I mean, they're literally spoon feeding us everything that they're giving us what we didn't know we wanted. I think I say that all the time in these Marvel shows. Like, we expect one thing and then they give us like triple that. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, wow. Like in the first episode, we didn't know we were going to get a glimpse of the Time Stone or any of the Infinity Stones. Mm-hmm. We didn't know we were going to get Loki looking at his life literally flash before his eyes. Like, we're getting these emotional scenes as well that is really it's new to these, I guess, superhero movies. I mean, Marvel's been doing it for a while, but you know, they're really good at trying to like pull at your heartstrings. You know, seeing Loki tear up, seeing his mom and then his dad die. You know, knowing that this happened. How is this even happening? You know, I'm here. Like that, it can't be happening. You know, so even in a god, like they go through grief, no matter how quick they go through it. Mm-hmm. But it's really showing just how, I guess, normal and human he could be.
Yeah, and you know, it's just there's always a bigger fish, you know, and they thought that they were the biggest. But I was watching Thor recently, and Loki was talking to Odin, and Odin was like, "Do you think that you can rule over these people?" And he was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "But basically, he kind of said like they're no different than us," and Loki was like, "Yeah, but by like 5,000 years, you know." So like, even though that he finds himself being a god, he's not really godlike. He's just godlike to the people that he's interacted with. Yeah. So now he's interacting with people that have powers that are different than his. I would say, do you guys have any gripes with what you've seen? One of the like gripes that I've seen is
one.
I don't know what dictates his ability to use his powers. I don't know if he's just acting like he doesn't have it, but he's been able to use it a couple times, and I'm just like, how is he able to do that if he showed that he couldn't before? So
right, if they're like, oh, you're let's give it like a limited capacity, which I don't think they have the control over his powers like that. So I know what you mean.
It might be just within the TVA space, and like once they get onto whatever timeline that they're at. Oh, right. That's where I was going with Roxcart. One thing I was going to say is that's the furthest in the future that we've ever seen in the MCU, because that was 2050. Right. And that's, what is that? Almost 25 years after Endgame.
Right.
Which is pretty crazy, like just for that part. And like, it's really like, I'm sure that, I don't know. I just wanted to see like a little something, but they probably couldn't spoil that. They were like, no, we're not going to dive into 25 years after Endgame. What's going on there?
I guess one of my gripes, I don't know. I guess it could just be because it's a show now, but seeing Loki fight a human and like pretty much get his ass beat by a human, it's just like, come on, bro. You fought the Avengers.
Well, also, too, the Avengers are human, just to throw that out there.
Well, not the Hulk. The Hulk was, like, pretty much beat him down, and he's still pretty normal, but he's, like, getting normal punches by a human, and it's just like, damn, that's really affecting you like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to be fair, Thor and the Hulk were the only ones that really laid hands on him.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. That was just my gripe. I was just like watching the fight, like, come on, like use your powers.
I don't know if Enchantress is really, like all of the ability from her goes into the person. Transfers into the person. Maybe. I'm not sure if that's the case. That could be the case, but I don't know.
It's kind of like what we said about Bucky when he was getting his ass beat by John Walker before John Walker had his powers. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, but I mean, I feel like with those like lower tier on the power level characters,
what is this, Pokemon?
Yes, there is lower tier levels of like
there is for sure.
So I feel like, you know, we've seen Captain America fight Batroc, you know, and Batroc has no powers, you know, and he's actually like
he was giving him fight, you know? Yeah, he was giving. So it's
hands. Like to a certain level, yeah, it's like you understand, like okay, like. It at the end of the day in the Marvel universe, there's still things like that are probably saturated. You know, humans are probably a little bit stronger in the Marvel universe than us in our regular universe, but it's because it's a movie and they can do that.
To me, I attribute that to the Superman theory. That's what I call that, where Superman is always holding back until he needs to no longer hold back. Yeah. So I just always think that heroes, for whatever reason, they're just holding back their full strength. Until it's a last resort, and that's why I like Invincible so much. But that's for another quick dive. If you guys haven't checked that out, you got to check that out because there is no holding back. I'm gonna give you the full up front.
Give you the whole combo.
Yeah, the whole combo.
You get in the hands and the feet up front.
Yeah, and if I was a hero, I would do that too. But most heroes do that, and then they hurt somebody that they didn't intend to hurt, and then they become traumatized, and then they hold everything back until absolutely necessary. So
rest in peace, Gwen Stacy.
Terrible movie. So is there anything else you guys want to touch on? I think we covered most of the last 2 episodes.
I think just what it is now, man, is just expectations. There's still four more episodes, right? It's only 6 episodes series.
Yeah.
We've already seen them come face to face, and so much has been revealed in 2 episodes. So we have another almost 4 hours of what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and with Loki, it's hard to even be like, what do we expect? It's hard to theorize what's next because of how big they've already gave us so much. So it's damn, how can you top that? How can we even think of what can be next? So everybody's literally waiting week to week to find out what can happen because there's no way of telling at this rate.
This is definitely the first of the Marvel shows where, and I don't know how long they're going to have this streak, but they're pretty much 2 for 2 on blowing my mind.
Right.
And I don't know if it's necessarily just because we're in territory that we've never been in before, but the last Marvel shows, if you some of the episodes, it was oh, that was a good episode, but it didn't necessarily blow my mind. There was a few of them, a few WandaVision episodes.
Did it blow your mind, bro?
Huh?
The ship of Theseus didn't blow your mind?
No, it did. It did, for sure. WandaVision, I would say...
As not regular. I know what you mean. Not regular.
Cooking breakfast for dinner didn't blow your mind?
Well, WandaVision was okay, this is cool. The first 2 episodes got me intrigued where I was okay, this is cool. And this is me being super open-minded. It's not I just wanted action or anything like that. I totally knew what they were doing with it. So I was okay, cool. The 3rd episode, when she sent Monica out the house...
Oh, okay.
Then I was okay. And then the 4th episode, I was okay. All right, we're getting here. Same thing with Falcon and Winter Soldier. There was only a couple episodes, or 3, maybe 3 out of the 6 episodes that I was really okay, this is crazy, right? But this is 2 for 2 right now of blowing my mind. And I'm scared because I don't want to get a mid episode. I want all the episodes to be fire every single one.
You would think the first one would be mid, but...
It wasn't. The first one wasn't mid. The second one wasn't mid. And I'm just okay, where are they going with this? The multiverse has started. Loki has jumped into wherever he went to with Sylvie. We don't know if the timekeepers are watching this whole thing. We don't even know if they exist. That's a theory that's going on, is that they're just putting up this propaganda and they've been dead, or Kang is the actual person that's the timekeeper, and they're just you can't give it to one person because then they're gonna make it seem like that it's a dictatorship.
I'm getting Wizard of Oz feel. The villain at the end just
there's one buddy in a closet just kind of pulling strings.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't be surprised. My theory is that Kang and Renslayer, because Renslayer is Kang's wife. I think that they're pulling the strings, and I wouldn't be surprised if Kang is all powerful but is limited in his power, where he has to be tied to the sacred timeline, or else his power goes away. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's an end credit scene where we see Renslayer walk into a room that we've never seen before, and you just see Kang laid up. And it's he's all powerful, but he's he has to be bedridden, or he has to be in a pod, or he's in something that he can't necessarily break out of, and they have to keep up this illusion. And eventually he's going to get the power to break out of it. And when he does, then we have our big bad villain for
my only gripe against that theory is that she's just out here flirting with Mobius. So I'm not sure.
You need to.
I mean, yeah.
Unless he's Kang.
You retain power. No.
All
right, we'll end it there.
Oh, yeah. We don't know. All right.
Mobius. All right. So that is it for episode 12, correct? Of this quick dive.
Quick dive.
We will have more in a few weeks. Stay tuned. We will be updating you on episode 3 and 4, giving you more theories. And if you want to start a podcast, go to productiveculture.com/podcast. They will hook you up. If you like what you see, this is what you'll get. And if you like what you hear, that is also what you will get. So thank you again for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. Peace.